what makes Rise of the Resistance such a great experience and ride. Let's explore together. The cue begins outside and well into the building. When Rey appears in the room, you know things are going to get moving faster. The tension builds immediately, so in this scene, you'll see her dismiss BB-8, and then she will talk to the audience directly about the mission. This brings the guests directly into the mission in their mind and makes it a part of the story. It's a little bit different than many other rides. On most other rides, you are in the ride vehicle, but you're not necessarily invited to be a part of that story. So it's a little different. It's one thing to be in the story, it's another to watch the story. So that is a big difference in this. In this section, you're beyond just being invited into the story. You now have a stake in the story. You now have a mission to keep something secret. In my opinion, this storytelling mechanism creates more tension and more excitement at the same time. So this storytelling way of doing things is a clever way of buying time while the ride runs, and also occupying the minds of those waiting in line, because these lines can be very, very long. The audience is now asked to move to the other section of the story, and we've switched now aboard the Resistance spacecraft. As you exit the building, to your right, you see Poe's black X-Wing. Really cool, reinforcing that you are part of the story. Approaching the Resistance spaceship looks real, it's dirty, it has the look of something that's been in space before. With everyone boarded, the inside feels crowded and standing room only, but that's enough. You do feel the spaceship roll as it now basically takes a new position so that you can enter the Star Destroyer hangar deck, which is one of the most amazing scenes on any ride I've ever seen. So this whole scene builds further tension as now the spaceship is captured by the villains. The action scene helps you forget that you're actually in this little room and that it does feel like it's rolling. Here we go. The story tension is heightened again as we start talking about tractor beams and getting pulled into the enemy's Star Destroyer hangar. So now we know what's about to happen, but it takes a few minutes to actually get there as this vehicle kind of turns a little slow. The animatronic that we're looking at is so amazing. This animatronic looks so lifelike, you think you're actually looking at an alien species flying this spaceship. The sequence timings are also so well figured out. I mean, everything is down to the split second between what the animatronic is saying, what you're seeing visually on the screens, and then of course so now we have the villains appear one after the other on the screen, keeping that tension going that we see and hear in the communication. This is also an interesting technique. We see a higher up villain replace the regular person on screen. Thus we know we're in big trouble at this point. At this point, we are now called Resistance. We're not just guests in a theme park, we are now part of the story. As we walk onto the Star Destroyer hangar deck, it really does feel like we're in a different place. It feels like you're actually in the action-adventure movie. That's really cool. I wish we were allowed to be on that hangar deck a little longer. It seems like you're only there for a few seconds before you get ushered in to the next section. The next section is basically more waiting in line, and it's also an area where they divide up the groups into smaller groups so that we can enter this interrogation room, which is really a prep area to then board the ride vehicle. This is also a great tension building mechanism, and you don't just leave this room, you escape this room, which is so cool because it's one of the things that leads to the next action-packed sequence of the entire journey of this adventure. As you can see, the doors look like they're cut open, and indeed, the escape feels real. So by the time you actually leave this room, your mind is actually racing about what just happened and what is the next experience about to happen. The one thing that kind of pulls you out of the realism is a safety instruction about the seatbelts. And now we're in the ride vehicles, making our great escape from the villain. Here we go. So the ride vehicles, of course, run themselves in the various directions. They have multiple paths they can take. Depending on which path is full, they can take another path. Of course, the droids are trying to figure out which path is best to escape with their newfound guest. So now there's of course obstacles in the way to keep the tension going. There's a probe droid that just came down from the ceiling, and there are turbo lifts that will hopefully get us in the right direction. But of course that path is blocked by stormtroopers. So here we go backwards, we spin and spin some more, and then into the hangar bay with the AT-ATs or AT-ATs. And this scene is really spectacular because they are, I think, life-size, or what would be life-size if AT-ATs were real. So here's one of the interesting points. The vehicle moves into an elevator, and the elevator goes up. Of course, they say no, we're supposed to go down. And we see the stormtroopers getting ready to shoot at the vehicle from their point of view. And the way that this whole thing is set up is amazing. It does look like they're actually shooting lasers or laser cannons or something. The tension that they built early on keeps going. There's so much that happens all at once and one after the other, a sequence of events. Your mind is still trying to process what just happened, while all of a sudden there's something new, like this bridge experience. This is one of the most interesting and compelling things. I will also right up there with the hangar deck with the stormtroopers and the Star Destroyer in the background. Of course, once Kylo Ren discovers the Resistance escapees are now roaming the ship and trying to get away, things get a bit more intense as he personally comes after you, as you can see in the scene. So now the vehicle is in this elevator shaft going a direction. We see a space battle. Unfortunately, these cannons were, I think, non-operational, or perhaps called in B mode. However, the space battle still went on and still amazing. So in some ways, I didn't really care that the cannons didn't fire, because the story is still intense. As we go from one section to another, you see damage to the Star Destroyer, and you see various stations repeating to get off the ship. So the intensity is still there, and unfortunately Kylo Ren's animatronic was not working, so he appeared on screen as well. Again, B-mode is pretty good. I've seen much worse B-modes on different rides, so really I didn't mind it. In true Star Wars fashion, the big space battle continues as the vehicles that we're in move along to another section with these large elevators that hold the entire vehicle. So we enter the elevator. You can see through the front window the space battle continues. This keeps our intensity and excitement going. That drop is real. It goes anywhere from 5 to 10 feet down. Kind of a controlled free fall. That's why you hear everyone go, woo! And here we go. We're about to come back down to Batuu and make a hard landing. So all in all, a really cool, exciting experience. The timing and intensity is everything. From the moment you see Rey to the moment that the ride concludes, it basically gets more and more intense right up until the vehicle has a simulated crash. It goes by so fast. It's a one-of-a-kind emotional experience, leaving every person wanting more for this ride, and thus it is so re-rideable. In my opinion, this experience and ride can stand completely alone from the various movies, because it can be ridden by those who know nothing about Star Wars and don't really care about the Star Wars trilogies in any way. It is exciting in and of itself. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.